Hey guys, welcome back to my series covering my POV of OFI on F124.
Robert.
This is round 4 at Monza. Um, this is in event 2, same as Netherlands, and event 3 is later in the year in December, where we'll have Mexico and Las Vegas. So coming on to my first lap of the qualifying session here in Q1, obviously it's Monza. We're going to have to cut the curves, hoping not to get blown into oblivion really, and just able to put a lap on the board. So into turn 1, looking to get the cut, and again, like both turn 1 and turn 2, we're instead of getting the cut clean, we don't want to cut turn 2 at all, but we're hitting the orange sausage curves, and that's lost us a fair chunk of time there. And so now we're heading into turn 4 and 5, same thing, trying to get the cuts, not getting bounced. Yeah, that was not bad. That was clean. You have to be worried about turn 5. You got to cut it as well, but you can't hit the black and yellow like speed bump curve. That's sort of what I call it. Um, anyway, this lap's been clean enough. We just need to get this time on the board, and we're going to be through to Q2. And so heading into the Ascari chicane. Yeah, that's potentially one of my worst Ascaris ever, but. It's fine. Look, this last sector in Q1 I remember being quite poor. In fact, very poor. But that's okay. Yeah, and we're sliding into Parabolica. So it's not been a very good start to the
So
qualifying
terrible.
session. But yeah, you can hear my reaction there. It's not a good lap. But
It's just no worries.
yeah, we're through the session, so we're into
But
Q2.
we're through.
And so now we're just in Q2. You can see we're at the end of Q2 here. I've already put in a run. In fact, I did a mid-5 on used tyres, the tyres I used in Q1, which for used tyres is a pretty good lap round here, like the C5s, because they hit the 6% on the wear so quickly. You know, that's not a bad lap. So they already probably had us through, but we're just doing one more run because we've got the sets of tyres. We want to leave 3 sets for Q3. And so now heading into turn 1 here. Yeah, that's much cleaner. That's the line you want. You want to avoid hitting the orange sausage curves and still getting the turn 1 cut and then getting on the exit speed. And you can see that we're 700ths up now. So now heading into turn 4. It's a 0.6 first sector, which is not bad. You can do a 9. A 9 is a properly good first sector, but 0 is fine as well, especially for Q2. Yeah, so we're committed here. I mean, we've got a run on the board. We can afford to take some risk and go and put a good time on the board. And so we're 2 tenths up on our 0.5. We've done a 9.5 split. That's not bad for a Q2 final run. And that Ascari was a lot stronger than our Q1 run. It's probably like, you know, 2.5 tenths better than just the Q1 run. And so in Parabolica, I know I've got time here, especially on the used run, and yeah, that's not a great Parabolica. We're wide, and we've dropped down a little speed, but yeah, we're 3 tenths up, and that's a strong run. That's not bad for Q2. I'll be happy with that. 0.23, and that sees us well and truly through, and 2 tenths clear of the field. So confidence was up going into Q3. Looking for some redemption after our performance at Netherlands. You can see that this is quite far into the session. This is actually our second run. We bailed on our first run. That was the start of the session because we had 3 sets of tyres. So heading into turn 1 here, yeah, we're just losing the rear, and you can see how we jumped over the turn 1 curve. And yeah, that's really suboptimal. We've lost a lot of time there, and that's a shame. But look, the way Monza is, you just have to try and get the best run you can on the board, and you know, hope you get some luck with the cuts. Same here, yeah, we just bounced a little bit off the exit turn 5 there, and weren't quite able to keep the speed up. And then in Lesmo 1, we've got too early apex, and we're losing some time. And yeah, Lesmo 2 is lacking a little bit of commitment. It wasn't too bad. So yeah, this isn't our best run. But yeah, as I said, look, in practice, I was really struggling with consistency around here, and so I was a little bit worried about just getting a run on the board. And you can see we haven't even done a 51 mil split, which is, yeah, I mean, it's just not good enough. It's not going to fight for pole. but still just trying to get the run on the board. That's not a bad parabolica, and this will come across for our mid two, which, you know, yeah, as I say, it's a run on the board. We're
Understood.
a couple of
Stopping
tenths
this
off
lap.
Riley at the moment. He's put in a 0.7, which is not a bad banker. And here's the final run. Here's where we've got to make it happen. We're out really late with the last card across the line. And here we go. So, you know, the legs were kind of shaky at this point. We wanted to kind of get a proper run in where, you know, that we knew we could do. And this turn one braking is so difficult, you know, under the pressure. And we've bounced a little bit, but we've got it together. There's corrections on exit, but you know we're a tenth up, more than a tenth up, and this is going to be our 0 first sector. So we are in the hunt here. You can see that Riley's on a 1-0 in the first sector, so we are ahead of his delta. And then in the chicane, we're wide, and we're just trying to like keep the time together. And you can see we've lost like half a tenth, and you know that's a bit disappointing. But we're still green, and we've got to just, you know, keep our nerve here. And we're losing the rear out of Lesmo to just to try and keep finding the time. We know there's time in almost every corner, and there's heaps of time in the Scari. So we've done an 8-9 split. You know, if we do a good last sector, this is a 0. We're in the hunt for pole here, and we know this in mid lap. So we're a tenth and a half up. You know, that would put us on a really high 0 at the moment. So we need to find time in the last corner, and we throw it in. We keep the minimum speed up. We've made it to the apex. Batteries on, and we're coming to the line. And I think we are just ahead. And we are. We do a 0.05.
Fucking wild.
We're 200 up.
Yeah.
You can hear we're pretty happy with that, getting a pole by 200s there.
That's wild.
And yeah, it was unexpected. Like, you know, preparation would indicate that, like that was that we were not expected to get pole, and we did. So that was pretty pleasing. And as you would have just seen there, confirmed there is no rain on the way, which is a great relief. And unfortunately, no audio for the race. We had audio for quali, no audio for the race. And so we've started on the hards. The race has started. So just looking to get through turn one clean. Obviously it's Monza. There's a lot of cars flying around. We just want to, you know, get through without any contact or damage. And starting from pole, that's the easiest way to do that. And so yeah, you can see that we're well clear, and now it's just getting to a rhythm, adjust to the balance of the car, adjust to the different grip profile given that we're in race, where we just have to be a bit more careful managing our minimum speed through corners. But yeah, we've had a really strong start. This is as good as you can ask for. Yeah, we're just looking to maintain our place in like the top train, and as time goes, hopefully try and create a gap. And so you can see we've done that. So we're still in the lead here, and you can see that the gap between P4 and P5 is almost a second, which means that that car's actually at risk of losing the train, which would be a great result for us. That's just less cars we have to fight later on in the race. At this point, we're not interested in fighting. You can see we're just letting cars through. Yeah, we're just going to let Greg through here. We're not going to fight this one. And we're actually pretty deficient on battery because we've been leading for a large part of that first kind of 6 laps of the race. So you can see we've probably used too much battery here, and Campbell is going to try and attack us. But honestly, like you can see that we've just broken. There was contact behind, and so we've broken the train. It's just the 4 cars up top, and so I'm very happy to just let him go here. If he wants to make the move, and you can see in Lesmo too, we make an error, we drop our exit speed, and Campbell's on the battery, and he's trying to go past, and we try and like half defend it, but in the end, yeah, like he seems pretty keen to get past. There's no reason for us to really fight that when we know that now there's only 4 cars essentially that can win the race. We let him go, and now our job is to just sit behind, save battery, just get back up to, you know, back from our like deficient battery status to the rest of the guys in the train, and just save our tires a little bit. for the last lap on these tyres where we'll pit, and we're coming up to that now. So obviously the last 7 laps, nothing happened. It's just the four of us driving away from the rest of the field, and you can see we've made a fair bit of a gap here. Um, and so I think all of us were aware that lap 15 was about where we all wanted to box, and at this point I'm trying to make up positions in the train. So you can see I'm on the battery and I'm trying to get past Campbell here. Um, he obviously didn't have the DRS, that's how we had so much overspeed. And yeah, we just can't quite get it done. It's just a bit too tight in turn one. We've invested a lot of battery there to essentially gain nothing. Well, really we've lost. You know, there's such a large gap to the train ahead now. So this in lap needs to be properly strong for us to just that gap. And yeah, you can see we've made an error, and this is a pretty poor lap. It's not really going to cost us because we're going to stay in DRS. That's practically certain. But it's just a little bit suboptimal. Um, Not quite gaining the kind of progress that we'd like to on this sort of a lap, where we know that, yeah, as you can see, the guys up front are kind of jostling for position because coming into the pits, this is where the track position is quite important. But it's most important for the two Mercedes because if three of us pit and there's one Mercedes stranded because they can't stack behind, then yeah, I mean, look, it's kind of race over for them because they're just going to lose the DRS. Um, and you can see that Riley does choose to pit, and me and Greg follow him in because we just have to. That's um, if there's a chance that we can try and break one of the cars in the train, that just makes it, instead of a four-way fight, it's a three-way fight for the win. So you can see we're pitting here, going on the mediums to the end. Softs really aren't an option when it comes to Monza. They're the C5s. They're just a poor tire in race trim. So this is a big lap as well for us as the third man in the train. If Campbell is going to catch up um, and stay in the DRS when he comes out of the pits, it's going to be because I either I didn't drive well enough. So this is a really critical lap for my chances for the win. I need to make sure that I do my best to keep him out of the DRS for the rest of the race. Uh, yeah, so you can see we just have so much more grip on these tires. We're braking like 10 meters later, carrying the speed. But you can see that we're also this is a bit scruffy. We're hitting a couple of curbs incorrectly. You can see that Riley's got quite a gap. We're not worried about him braking necessarily, but it's just indicative that we're not maybe driving quite as well as we need to on this outlap to break um, the cars behind that are overcutting. Yeah, it's very difficult to. I'd say this is something that really uh, separates driver quality, especially on a game like this where the skill gap in terms of just racing is not particularly high. Is the being able to adapt to new grip situations and new tires is really critical because this is where you're going to gain or lose positions. And so you can see Campbell is about a second and a bit back. Obviously, he's got that one lap tyre delta to us, so he's got better tyres, but they're just going to take a couple of corners to fire up, which is critical as we head into this middle sector. This is where Campbell's race is going to be won or lost. He needs to make the DRS here, otherwise his chances of the win go from pretty good if he makes the DRS because he's got the tyre delta, to yeah, practically impossible if he doesn't make this DRS here. And I know this, and even though I'm low on battery, I've got to hook this middle sector up. It's absolutely critical because with Riley getting the speeding penalty ahead in the pits, um, this is essentially a two-way fight for the win between me and Greg if we're able to um, break from behind. And so you can see that we were able to do that, and Campbell's just dropped back another 4 tenths because we had the DRS. And at this point, it's kind of race over for him in terms of fighting for the win, as long as nothing up ahead happens. And as you can see, we just were able to maintain that gap, and now we're heading into the last 3 laps as we fight for the win here. Um, and yeah, we choose to take the lead here, which 3 laps out is an interesting decision. I would say that I was probably more concerned with just making sure I had the battery for the last lap. Um, Instead of the track position, I'd say at Monza, which, funnily enough, at Monza, it's actually a track you could probably win from like any position. Third in the train is tough, but first and second in the train are actually pretty even. Like, of course you'd want to be second in the train, but it's not raced over if you're at the front. So yeah, I was happy to take the front here, and as you can see, we're just trying to manage the battery as best we can, and put ourselves in the best position come the last lap to fight for the win. Um, Crucially, over the course of this stint, it was tyre saving. Obviously, in a train, the cars behind are able to tyre save a bit better than cars ahead, and so being able to stay behind and still keep the pace up to keep Campbell out of the DRS um, was really important to make sure we had best tyres compared to Greg, who we're fighting for the win here. Riley's, because of the speeding in the pit lane, um, isn't going to contend for the win here. So uh, actually, it's quite an interesting situation where I have to manage not only just the position in the train, but also my positioning compared to Riley, because if at any point he's between me and Greg ahead, then that's going to make it a lot tougher for me to gain track position on Greg, even if I'm going to get Riley's position automatically. It's these kinds of strategic nuances which, I think at a higher level you need to start considering. It's not just about the driving. Um, Compared to these two guys, like, I'm not a quicker driver, but being able to kind of mid-race think about this consciously is quite important. So at this point here, I am trying to get position on Greg because it would put me second man in the train. Um, but yeah, he wasn't really going to give that up, of course. So I just chose to sit back and save the battery. And you can see we've made it to 100% on the battery now, and we're heading into the last lap. So now I'm just using this brief time before the last corner of the second last lap to consider what the kind of patterns could play out for this last lap and what battery we're going to need to get to Ascari and then to Parabolica and then to the line. But critically, we need to make a position up here. We cannot afford to sit behind and stay third man in the train. And as you can see, we do get past Riley, and we're just following Greg through here. And at this point, I'm not sure what is going to happen, whether he's going to let me past. Um, and as you can see, he's starting to lift. So he does want us to go past, and he'd prefer to stay as second man. So I decided to go ahead. It's maybe not an optimum decision. I could have tried to stay behind quite easily, but yeah, I decided to go past and just put the pressure on. And this middle sector, this is the most crucial corners of the entire night. I have to keep pushing and put a sector together here. And I make an error out of Lesmo 2. My chicane, my Lesmo 1 was good, but Lesmo 2 was quite poor. And he's got to run here. He's got the DRS, and we have to let him go. Like, if we fight side by side over Scari, that's just too much risk. It's going to result in an incident. But we do have the battery critically, and you can see that he was flashing in Ascari. And that indicated to me that actually he was trying to save the battery and that he actually didn't have much left. And you can see he's flashing now, and that's not flashing because he's in none. He's actually at low deployment. And so we dive down the inside of Parabolica. We've got the battery. We're back on the battery. We're covering off the switchback by holding it into the apex at the exit of the corner, and we win our second race in a row. We've won both races in event 2 of this year's OFI. And yeah, that was a wild race. It was kind of it was simplistic, really, in its kind of construction. It's, you know, um, we just kind of broke as a train, and then, broke Campbell in the pits, and then Riley had the penalty, so it kind of just became a 1v1 between me and Greg, and yeah, that was a wild race. You can see such close racing at the end there. So props to Riley and Greg for the quality of racing that um, we were able to put on. And yeah, this puts us in proper championship contention, as you can see. Um, and yeah, so heading into Mexico and Vegas, it's going to be all on. I hope you enjoyed seeing my POV of this race, and tune in to the OFI streams. It's really a high standard of racing. It's the best that the region has to offer, and we've got top guys coming into the commentary team such as George Morgan, which is a really big deal for the community. So I'll see you next time.